Toyota believes in hybrids more than I believe in my own existence. They make a different one for virtually every need. Some of them have a near perfect execution. Others are a little bit more niche. So today I'm going to dive into the more affordable side of Toyota's electrified lineup to try to figure out which one is the best. Now this list will come in the order of my personal favorites, though I do believe that all of these cars make a strong argument for themselves. I just think that certain models are more persuasive than others. First, I want to talk about what makes Toyota hybrids so good to begin with, and the most important part is reliability. Toyota has done a remarkable job of making these fairly complex vehicles last quite a bit of time. Their e-CVTs sit at the core of the propulsion. So a traditional CVT is belt or chain driven, whereas the e-CVT uses a planetary gear set and then a separate motor to change the gear ratio for the engine and start it, so that it can play with whatever RPM it thinks is necessary for the situation. It's a reliable design, it can quickly change the ratios, allowing for good response, and it also feels a little bit more natural and linear than your run-of-the-mill CVT. It also helps regen power back into the battery pack, and that's a key part in making these so efficient. The battery packs themselves are also relatively small, so their environmental impact isn't too big, and they consistently get 10 to sometimes like 15 miles a gallon better than their internal combustion only counterparts. The only notorious downside in longevity comes from that battery. While people regularly report 200,000 miles on a pack, after 12 to 15 years you may have to change it. Prices for this have been going down, but it could cost you $3,000. So let's make a cost analysis. In a car like the Camry SE, over the course of 200,000 miles you would have burned 1,900 gallons less if we assume the combined EPA numbers, saving you roughly $7,200 with today's average fuel costs. Even with the hybrids asking $1,500 to $2,500 more, and the possibility for a $3,000 battery replacement, you come out ahead in the long run. For people that drive a lot, the electrified versions make a ton of sense. There's a reason why companies like Ford and Subaru, which Toyota has a stake in, buy previous generation Toyota hybrid tech. And these hybrids usually don't cost a whole lot of money too, though some dealers have realized that they're a good value and strip that away from you. And that's another point I should bring up here. In certain regions, all of these models are hard to get at MSRP. Though if you search hard enough, you can find one for a good deal. But the hardest one to do that with is probably the Toyota Sienna, at least at the moment. Now this would technically start around that $37,000, $38,000 range. You could get upper 30 MPGs out of this 3-row vehicle that can comfortably sit 7 adults. If you take the time to unbolt the seats, you could fit 4x8 drywall sheets in there. And it has enough power to move the thing on the highway with just its little 2.5 liter naturally aspirated hybrid setup. It's also available with all-wheel drive like most Toyota hybrids. In the case of the cars shared today, this system simply adds a rear motor with no driveline between the front and rear axle. Front-wheel drive models will use only one drive motor. That said, it handles like a soft, big box. It's also not as well insulated as the more expensive Toyota Highlander, but at least it's much more practical than its crossover sibling. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of markups, $10,000, $15,000 over sticker for these things. So that's the biggest reason why it's here at the bottom of my list. The next car is the Corolla Hybrid. Now, this is the quintessential Toyota. If you asked a stranger to describe the brand in one sentence, they'd probably say they're efficient, affordable, long-lasting, and boring cars. This comes in at under $25,000. When I was easy on it, I could get in the mid-50s of MPGs. And when it comes to common problems and reliability, this generation of Corolla has been stellar, and the hybrid system is also highly dependable. Unfortunately, this uses the old 1.8 liter engine. Again, long lasting, but it makes very little power. While flat out acceleration can yield you a 0 to 60 in 9 seconds flat, in the real world, passing at highway speeds, it feels a little lethargic. You're also going to have to remember this is supposed to be a cheaper car. The interior feels as such. Build quality, just acceptable. The materials are mostly plastic, some soft touch stuff here and there, with a very simple layout. And at highway speeds, it's a little noisy. If you just want a car with low running costs, the Corolla Hybrid is about the best choice you can make. It also now offers all-wheel drive. It comes with Toyota's latest active driving aids. If you also need more practicality, ground clearance, or speed, Toyota makes the Corolla Cross Hybrid, which uses the next generation hybrid system. That's going to make like 196 horsepower. It can still manage in the mid 40 mile per gallon range if you're super easy on it, and it's much more relaxed when passing. It's also a small box. It provides great cargo space. Backseat space is just okay, not really any better than the Corolla sedan. And it actually comes with steering that feels even more dead. It's just super light and vague, though the ride is still comfortable. Everything else is very identical to the Corolla. It just feels like a cheaper car. Yet it's also like $5,000 more expensive. If you're spending that much and you're contemplating whether or not you should spend a little bit more, the RAV4 Hybrid becomes an option, which I personally prefer. It's a little bit more smooth on the road. The steering feels more substantial. You have a much bigger back seat, an even more giant cargo area, and it's still crazy efficient considering what it is. It also utilizes the 2.5 liter inline four. It's gotten to 60 in under 7 seconds actually, for me, if that matters to you at all. While it has less gusto at highway speeds, passing power is more than sufficient. The downsides with that is that the engine is also a bit noisy. The cabin itself, while nicer, still isn't too refined for the price tag, especially when you start creeping above $40,000. And the seats, they're just okay. The Venza, on the other hand, is a legitimate alternative to a premium or entry-level luxury car. You can still get one for 36 grand, and that's gonna come with all-wheel drive, more comfortable seats, a cabin that feels upscale, and a ride that is so forgiving and comfortable. Yeah, handling isn't exactly a positive virtue, but if you want a relaxing driving experience, the Venza provides it. You can get things like ventilated front seats, a heated steering wheel, but also a Stargaze roof that, with the click of a button, can glaze the glass. It's a neat car with a unique style. The only downside is that it's not super practical, and it is a crazy thick center console, so knee room isn't particularly great. The next car doesn't have that issue, but is still a comfortable cruiser, and that's going to be the Camry Hybrid, which gets great gas mileage. It unfortunately does not offer all-wheel drive like all of the others that I've mentioned so far, but because it uses the 2.5 liter system, it has a good amount of power, and it's very smooth and comfortable over bad roads while retaining good control in the twisty stuff because it's assisted by its lower center of gravity. Now, obviously, your point of entry is going to be a little bit lower, so you may want some more youthful joints for that, but once you're inside, you have supportive seats, a big back seat, a good trunk, and a dated, though simple interior. Now, my favorite, somewhat budget-minded option is their flagship, the Prius. I have finally gotten to drive one, and I completely understand the hype. So it handles much better than any car wearing this nameplate has the right to. Body roll is well kept. The steering has a little bit of feedback pumped in with a quick reaction time. The car itself, while not overly athletic, is quick enough. Pulling onto the highway ramp, it makes maybe not short work of it, but it's relaxed nonetheless. I got it to 60 in 7.2 seconds, but more importantly, the mid-range power, even at higher speeds, is still plenty. Plus, the cabin is a nice place to be. The seats are comfortable. The feature set is stacked if you skip the base. The tech is easy to operate. The materials and build quality feel appropriate for that 30 to 35 grand price tag, and it's eye-catching inside and out. On top of all of that, it earns the best mileage of any non-plug-in car I can think of. In typical Toyota fashion, you do have to deal with a bit of a noisy engine, and in a surprising compromise, Toyota went for style over phenomenal visibility. The front windows have gotten notably smaller. You sit down just a bit lower than you did in the past, and visibility out of the rear window is dramatically reduced. The back seat also loses just a little bit of headroom, and the rear cargo area is notably shorter in height. I have some other minor grievances, but overall I'm thoroughly impressed with what Toyota did here. It may not be objectively the best car in the lineup, but its newfound personality and driving characteristics makes it the Toyota Hybrid that I am personally most compelled to buy. Even though Toyota has almost ruined this car because they haven't been making near enough, and many dealerships are taking advantage of that. It's reasonably difficult to find one of these at MSRP, especially if if you're looking for the plug-in hybrid prime variant. But if you can pull some strings to find one and you're okay with some versatility compromises, this is a phenomenal car. Now, let me know in the comment section which one you think is the best for under 40 grand, or if you think another brand does hybrids better. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, then please leave a like to help me take on the YouTube algorithm. Subscribe and hit the notification bell for more fun, detailed car content without fluff. Check out my Patreon for an additional podcast, and I'll catch you in the next one.